Welcome. My name is Justin Hahnemann, and I'm really excited to be here today. I work for Amazon as part of AWS. How many of you are shoppers on Amazon.com? Show of hands. Okay, yeah. How many of you work with AWS? How many of you have no idea what AWS is? There's one hand in the back. Okay, great. Well, just in case you're not familiar, I'll give you a bit of an overview in a few moments. You get me for about 10 to 12 minutes today. And for those of you that are watching on the camera at home or in your office after today, welcome. We wish you were here with us. We're going to be talking about a topic I'm sure nobody is interested in, generative AI. Anybody interested in generative AI? Yes, a lot of hands, that's right. Anybody already testing generative AI? You've got models, you're doing use cases. Anybody on the front end, you're still trying to figure out what it is? You don't understand it? Okay, good. How many of you know what artificial intelligence and machine learning are? Right? Okay, good. Vast majority. Well, here's what our plan is, our roadmap for today. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on this space. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into what we're doing at AWS around retail. And then I'm going to dive into some of the excitement around generative AI. And then you're going to get a really great use case and story from one of our biggest customers in Latin America. Oscar is going to be joining me in just a moment, and he's going to dive into some application with their business, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a few minutes. So we will have time for Q&A at the end. We have some canned questions. We'll ask a couple of each other, and then we'll have a mic in the front of the room here. So if you've got questions as we go, just know at the end we'll take a few, and then we'll hang out afterwards and we can talk more in detail. Sound good? Okay, cool. So here we go. Let's jump in and give you a little bit about AWS and Amazon. If you already work with us, this may not be new news. If you do not work with us, this might be new news, and that's okay. So at Amazon, our mission or vision is to be Earth's most customer-centric company. And, you know, it's nice to have a very clear vision and mission. It makes it very clear what we should be rolling up to at AWS. And within retail, actually, a quick note, retail and consumer goods at AWS are part of one industry vertical. So many of you work with other technology companies, right, that are verticalized right, from an industry perspective. And just so you know, how we go to market is we've got both retail and consumer packaged goods like in one team. And many of the team members are here, so welcome. In retail, we like to say we're born from retail. If you come to our booth after, you'll see that it is very clear that many of the services and solutions and capabilities that we offer came from retail. And so we like to say we're born from retail and built for retailers. We work with the vast majority of retailers worldwide from all kinds of different perspectives, from core cloud technology to marketing, sales, allocation, planning, analytics, data, supply chain, right, fulfillment. And I'll share with you a bit about some of those before we jump into generative AI. The second area, frictionless commerce, unified commerce. The theme of, again, if you come to our booth, is really unified commerce, physical store technology, and also digital tech. In fact, a year ago, we were all, how many of you were here last year? Yeah, okay. How many of you first NRF? Wow, oh my gosh. Well, welcome. I mean, this is the largest retail event of the year, and what a great place to learn. But a year ago, we weren't even talking about generative AI. Some people were. And then we were really talking a lot about immersive retail, immersive commerce, right? Unified commerce, new e-commerce platforms. For us, that is a huge part of what we do at AWS, and now have added in the components around generative AI, and of course, artificial intelligence that supports. In the last area, the third area is we really focus on operational efficiency. You might expect that we're really good at supply chain at Amazon, and we've taken many of the learnings from that part of our business and brought those over to be services or capabilities that you can use as a customer. And so we talk about in retail, the allocation process, the planning process, inventory visibility, right? Where should you put inventory to meet the demands of a retail store and the consumers that shop that store? We're very embedded with many of our retailers in helping them to solve that. And it's been especially important the last couple of years, right? As we went through COVID, supply chain issues, and then many of the ups and downs that we've been facing in the marketplace in different geographies. So that's a little bit about AWS. That's the end of the AWS overview. Generative AI. So while this space has been there for more than a year, it really accelerated with us and our customers around March or April last year. And it's funny, coming out of NRF, we were talking about immersive commerce, stores opening, the experience in store, loyalty, new commerce platforms, and then it became all about generative AI. And many of you are sitting here, I've had calls with, and it was, what is it and why should we care? And for the first time, line of business people and CEOs cared about AI. In fact, many people at these types of events would get up here and talk about AI, ML, but they really wouldn't know what AI or ML were or how they interplayed together, but we're doing AI, ML. What generative AI really did, first and foremost, was help our customers and many line of business leaders to understand what it is and what's the potential for it, right? And I think that's what was so exciting. And there's a lot of news. I put some on this page here, and a lot of excitement and also a lot of questions. And we'll dive into some of that in a few moments. AI is not new. Some of you have seen this slide. If you work with us, you've seen me show this slide. But AI is not new. In fact, it's been around for many years, all the way back to the 50s. And it's already built into many things that you're using today, whether it be with us at Amazon or even some of your other platforms that you work with. In areas like product recommendations, in areas like fraud for e-commerce, your contact center solutions, the next best offer solutions. This morning I met with a customer, we were talking about personalization around how do you recommend the next best offer online or in store, or loyalty, right? AI is not new. It's actually been around for many years. And it's nice to know that it's already been there. On the supply chain side, demand forecasting, right? And at Amazon, many of you work with many parts of Amazon. There's AWS, there's Amazon Advertising, there's Amazon Pay, there's Amazon Buy with Prime, there's Amazon Logistics, Distribution, Fulfillment, Whole Foods, Amazon Fresh. I could keep going down the list. Many of you work with many parts of the Amazon ecosystem, and AI is part of many of the things that we do at Amazon. Where you might see this play out is if you visit one of our fulfillment centers and you see the robots moving product around the fulfillment center for picking and packing, that's powered by machine learning. If you come over to our booth and you see what's called the Just Walk Out technology, how many of you have been into an Amazon Go store, Amazon Fresh store? Okay, for those that haven't, if you have an Amazon account, you would just go to your app here. Hopefully we'll have some good Wi-Fi, and pull up an in-store code. Yep, here we go. When I pull up this in-store code on my Amazon.com app, I walk into an Amazon Go store. There's several around New York. I scan my code, gate walks open. We're using computer vision and sensor fusion to build a virtual cart, right, for you in store. And then what do? I just walk out. My Amazon account is charged and I get a receipt in my email. That is powered by AI, ML. Alexa, powered by machine learning, et cetera. So for us at Amazon, many of the core AI or machine learning capabilities built into what we do every day in different parts of our business. Of course, today we're going to talk about generative AI, and we'll talk about some of the differences. We think of generative AI as a true game changer. And some of you may, I don't want to say laugh, but it seems odd that we'd be talking about the printing press or the light bulb. But we at Amazon view this technology as that significant. And what's interesting here is that if you look at actually the pace of change, 400 years from printing press to the light bulb, 100 years from light bulb to personal computers, 20 years from personal computers to the internet. Amazon AWS was the first cloud provider, launched in 2006 as the platform on which Amazon.com was built, right? 6 or 7 years, there's no other cloud providers there, 2006. And then here we are, and we're talking about generative AI. We view that as it's that significant. And some of you have already found this. And some of you already found this in terms of how you're using the models today on the data that you have. So what questions are we being asked? So I mentioned all of the meetings that we started having last March or April. It became all encompassing every day. What is it? Tell me why it matters. Boards. We're meeting with the board, telling them what in the world is generative AI? And why should we care? And what's Amazon doing about it, right? It's fascinating. And so these are the types of questions we get asked every day. And these are the types of questions, especially here, it's what are we doing? What are our models doing? How are others using it? What are the real use cases and the business value add? Is it significant and a game changer today? Can I use this in supply chain yet? Can I use it to pull things from different systems? What about the hallucinations and when it comes back with bad response or bad data, very confidently comes back wrong? Like, how do we think about that? And these are all the questions that we're getting now from customers. The majority, if I had to separate out our retail customers, like, there is a segment that is on the bleeding edge. They're testing it out today with text around e-commerce listings, titles, bullets, AdWords, descriptions, right? With the text models. They're testing it out with images. You can take images today and put them in all kinds of products and put them in all different environments without using an agency. Today, it's like available and it's being used. It's happening today with our customers, right? With coding. The other third use case is coding in terms of how you can use natural language to code, but also it's powerful to do like QA on coding, move one code to another code set in minutes and seconds. Like it's just, when you see what these models can do and the power of what can be generated from them, you start to think about and realize the potential for this. You're also starting to see this built into many of the services that you're using every day on your phone with other technology companies and how they're embedding it in their solution. You'll hear us often talk about our models and the data, right? And the output from that. But many services are just going to have it embedded, built in. You're not going to select a model and data. So a lot has changed in only 6 or 7 months. If you think about, again, back to last year, around August, September, we went from this everyday meetings on what it is and why should I care, to how can we start testing? How can we start exploring this with our teams? Where do we find value? How do we assign people? Is it going to change roles? Do we need to hire new people? Should I be worried about the people I have, right? And then the other area that I would just say that really started to become in the spotlight at the end of last year was the data. And in our model, the way that AWS works is we provide the models on top of the data in AWS. But guess what? If the data is not good, what is your output? Not good, right? It's just interesting that if you think about like the quality of data being a big part of the story. Finally, this is my last slide before I hand it over to Oscar. I get asked this throughout the week here, actually. This has been one of the big topics. Like, where are we really seeing this today? And the use cases today are primarily in the center. I mentioned some of those a few moments ago, marketing and sales, and around e-commerce and customer experience. Those are the two big areas. Now, where there's a lot of interest is how can we use this for better, let's say a planogram. Many retailers, do not raise your hand, put the same product set in every store, a vast majority of stores, and do not think about who's shopping in those stores because they just can't manage the data to figure it out and then get the right product there. A great use case for generative AI. How do we improve our forecasts? I mean, we've been working on forecasts for years, but the potential to be able to grab data sets from different data platforms and bring that together to provide almost a dynamic forecast that ties back to inventory, powerful. Not quite there yet, but guys, this has moved in like 6 or 7 months from zero to everyone testing. Okay, imagine 6 or 7 more months. So it's super exciting. There's a lot to be explored here. There's a lot to be put in place in terms of governance, right? That's been also a big focus, is how do we ensure that this is used for the proper means and for providing the right insights to the right user within our business. And so I know you all are eager to see how this has been brought to life with Mercado Libre. So I will introduce Oscar. Let me just tell you a little bit about Mercado Libre. How many of you know the brand, Latin America? Oh, wonderful. I mean, this is significant. 144 million shoppers or consumers on their platform. They operate across 18 countries. They've got 50,000 employees, a significant e-commerce presence in the vast majority of LATAM countries. And so you're going to hear today how they've taken these ideas and brought them to life. And so with that, I'll introduce Oscar, and we'll be back in a few minutes for questions. Oscar. Thanks.
Thanks, Justin. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Cool. So it's very nice to be here. As Justin mentioned, my name is Oscar Mullin. I'm a Senior Director of Engineering working with Mercado Libre. And the idea is to share with you today some ways in which we use AI and generative AI in production, externally and internally in our company. As you can see, this is not a Gen AI image. We managed to create it ourselves. So basically, one of the things that we all have in common is that we have a constraint that is time, right? We can only do certain amount of things with the time we have. And when you are in business and you rely heavily in technology, one of the trade-offs that you have to make is the trade-off between speed and quality, right? So if you move very fast, most likely you're going to hit the quality level of what you're building. And if you are focusing too much on higher levels of quality, you're not going to move as fast, right? And when I say quality here, I talk about it in a wide sense, right? Reliability, efficiency, security, privacy, and so on. So usually we move at some point within this curve, right? If you are building a prototype, most likely you are moving fast. You don't care that much about quality. If you are building mission-critical products, then you're probably focusing a little bit more in quality. So one of the things we like to think about this in Mercado Libre is how can we move this curve? And we think that with new technology like AI and generative AI and platform engineering and other sort of technologies, we are able to move this curve. So we can actually move faster with the same level of quality or achieve higher quality at a greater speed. As Justin mentioned, Mercado Libre now have 50,000 employees. 15,000 of those work in technology. We have 140 million active users in 18 different countries. But it wasn't always like this, right? When we started many years ago, we had a monolith and a single database, and that was it. All of our code was there. A release meant everything in at the same time. And we stayed like that for 10 years. Actually, we went public with that architecture. But then we knew that if we wanted to continue scaling and grow, we needed to change something. One of those things was to using microservices. So we changed to a microservice architecture so people can work decoupled from each other and continue scale our company and our business. So started releasing our first mobile applications. And then the curve grows exponentially. The number of employees grows significantly. And it's not a coincidence that it matches with that logo that you see there. That logo is the logo of our internal platform that is called Fury. Fury is a mix between an internal engineering platform that basically abstracts away basic creation or constructions like compute, traffic, networking, data services, and so on. And also is an internal platform that helps our developers to work seamlessly with a lot of collaboration and completely decoupled. And the last thing that you see there, that is a brain, basically is to, thank you. What you see at the end, that is a brain, basically refers to generative AI, because we think that's the new technology that will allow us to keep growing and keep moving with the same speed as before. One key thing to mention here is that we actually offer AI and Gen AI through our platform to our internal development teams and the whole company. We have a part of Fury that is called Fury Data Apps. Basically there you can train any machine learning model you want, and also you can do serving of the machine learning models from there. We also have constructions, so anyone can use generative AI and different providers directly from the platform in a way to democratize the access in a secure and efficient way for all the company. So this is the side and one view of our product in Brazil. Brazil is our largest market. How many people do we have from Brazil here? Wow, a lot of Brazilians. We can say it in Portuguese now. How many people from Argentina? Cool. So I'm from Uruguay, so I'm not going to enter in the Maradona Pelé thing. But basically, this is how our page looks. And this is all the places in which we use traditional AI, right? If we want to call it somehow. If you can see there, we use traditional AI in search because we want to make sure that we understand the intention of your search and not just keyword matching. That will provide more relevant results for the users that are searching. We also use traditional AI in text moderation as well as in image moderation. We need to make sure that whatever the seller uses to publish are things that are related to the product they are selling. They comply with our terms and conditions. They are not offensive, illegal, or even fraud related. We also use this to calculate the shipping time. So we need to understand the address of the user as well as the location of the product. We also need to understand the shape of the product and the type of truck that can transport this product. And we also use models that consider the historical traffic data of the cities where we deliver the products to make sure that we do the best promise of delivery, because that's a key decision for the buyer, right? If the product is arriving tomorrow, maybe I want to buy it. If it arrives in a week, maybe I don't want it, right? And we need to be as accurate as possible. We also use it in price optimization. Basically, we have all the prices, of course, on our own platform, but we also understand the pricing in the competitors and the rest of the internet, so we can recommend and predict the pricing for these kind of items, so the sellers can improve their price and also sell more products. We also use it, of course, in categorization and recommendations. Those are the most typical uses of artificial intelligence here. We use it to detect fakes. Fakes in e-commerce are a big problem. So in order to make sure we validate the authenticity of products, we also use AI there in checking the images and checking the products themselves. We also use it with fraud prevention. Mercado Libre is not only an e-commerce company. Mercado Libre is an e-commerce, fintech, and logistic company. We have one of the largest fintech solutions in Latin America. And fraud prevention is critical for us in many ways. So we have models that take thousands and hundreds of thousands of parameters to understand fraudulent activities and try to deter that from happening. And we also use it in credit scoring, of course, to understand which kind of loans we can give to our users and with which conditions. Of course, that was just one page of one of our products. We use it internally extensively in our logistics centers. We use it in our legal teams. We use it in human resources. We use it also in our internal optimization of infrastructure management. We have, for example, in AWS, more than 100,000 EC2 instances. And in order to improve the efficiency of the compute that we use a lot of artificial intelligence as well. So that was traditional AI. And then Gen AI came, right? Basically, everything kind of got excited by 2022, right? That's when we all knew, or most of us knew about ChatGPT and the things that we could do with it, right? And if you think about it, this is a game changer in terms of technology, but also is the technology that was adopted faster in the history of humanity. In only 5 days, more than 1 million active users. That's crazy. That's a lot of potential in that technology. If you want to understand the technology, you need to go to the source. So this is the original paper of Attention is All You Need that kind of open up many of the things we're seeing today. So if we want to really understand these technologies, we need to go deep here and understand how it works. And then you have the transformer architecture next to it. We're not going to go into the details of this, of course, but what I wanted to highlight here is that the paper was written in 2017 and the breakthrough happened in 2022. If we think about the slide that Justin showed, going from the printer to the next evolution took almost 400 years. And here, going from the definition to the technology, it took only 5 years. 5 years may look like not a lot of time, but think about it. From having the way to do this to create a product that anyone could use, it took 5 years. So while we are very excited about this technology, probably it will take some time that we can actually incorporate it in a way that highly impact the daily life of users. This is an image that was created with a prompt that kind of highlights the power of this technology that you all know. And basically, we put it here because we think that it kind of expose this new value that you can get out of this technology. That is the first time in history that you can create original content, human-like, that is difficult to differentiate from human creations. And we can use this in e-commerce a lot. We can use it to improve advertising, to improve how our images in the products look like, and many other things. And then the question came, right? What is Mercado Libre strategy about generative AI? What is the strategy your companies is having about generative AI? And actually, in Mercado Libre, we don't have one, right? So that's our strategy. We don't have a strategy. We don't have a strategy for the metaverse either, and we don't have a strategy for NFTs. We don't have a strategy for any new technology because basically that's part of our culture, and that was one of the key things I wanted to share with you. For us, we have a culture of innovation, and that means using every new technology, even the ones that mean changing the complete landscape of technology, as a means to create more business and user value. This culture also means that you need to partnership with the best in the industry because most likely when this breakthrough happens, you are not going to have the experts inside your company. So we were one of the first companies that made a strategic partnership with AWS to talk about and discuss about generative AI, also with OpenAI. And this is kind of something that repeats in our history. It happens with platform engineering, it happened with mobile, it happened when we started our logistic. We knew nothing about logistic, and now we run one of the largest logistic operations in the world. It means building new capabilities based on new technology. That's something that needs to be part of your culture, right? And that includes upskilling and reskilling your teams because most likely they won't know or they won't have all the information to be able to use these new technologies. One other thing that happens when you define a strict strategy is that you cannot move as fast as the technology. So we have GPT 3.5, and then a few months later we have GPT 4. Then we have Llama in the middle. Llama is a major breakthrough because now anyone can use these large language models, right? The thing is that the first version of Llama that was released by Meta was not commercially usable because of the licensing type it had, right? So researchers and academics could use it and could work with it, but were not able to use it commercially, nor were we. And then Llama 2 came, and with Llama 2, these restrictions somehow were lifted, so now anyone can use Llama 2 commercially in your own infrastructure. You can use it in AWS Bedrock as well. So anyone can benefit from these models. What I'm trying to emphasize here is if you define a very strict strategy, then you're gonna be hit with the speed of the technology. So the best thing you can do is create a culture of innovation. We also did a hackathon in our company where we stopped everything for one day. Everything means everything, not just technology, every area of the company, so they can focus on creating new ideas that impact our users directly with the use of generative AI. And we got 200 ideas that were approved after the hackathon, more were created. And now we are currently implementing 20 of those in production. This is a more technical description of how we offer the access to generative AI in our company to our technology teams. So all of this runs in Fury, the platform I explained at the beginning. Basically, what you have here is that any application in Fury, that is this platform, can access different LLMs through a generative AI gateway data plane that we have there. The generative AI gateway data plane is the thing that actually talks with the LLMs and can change providers in a simple way. But the key thing about this gateway is that it controls completely what data goes out. If we detect PII data going out to any LLM, we can prevent that from leaving our company. We also manage the rate limiting there, so we don't, because cost is a big issue with generative AI, right? If you still don't hit it, you will hit it because LLMs are huge, right? And until we have smaller models that can be as performant with a lower cost, you need to be very conscious about the cost. And also with an asynchronous replication, we were able to evaluate all the prompts and all the answers that we got. So we understand which were the kind of things our teams were trying to achieve, and which were the kind of results that we were getting. So we learned a lot of things during that, a lot of things that can be done. But we also learned a lot of problems that we face with this technology. Toxicity is one of those, biases is another of those, and hallucinations is another one. So one of the main issues was hallucinations, and we don't even know if that's going to be fixed eventually, or if it's part of the technology itself. If it works like the human brain, we kind of hallucinate, right? So which are the techniques that you can use to reduce this in your AI solutions? Well, the first one, and it sounds crazy when we first hear that prompt engineer is going to be actually a career in technology, but for LLMs, it's currently the best way to reduce hallucinations and to improve the accuracy of the task is to do prompt engineering in a good way. If you really can craft a good prompt, you're going to get a much, much better response. Next, in terms of improving the accuracy, you have few-shot prompts that basically is providing a set of examples to the LLM of the inputs and the outputs you expect, and then you provide your prompt, right? This is kind of how humans learn. Then you have retrieval augmentation. Retrieval augmentation is providing the ability to give a context to the LLM from which to answer. Basically, this is, for example, I don't know if you have experience with tools like Ask PDF or things like that. Basically, this is, you can ask your own data, or you can use your own data and then use the LLM to answer on top of your own data, right? One of the key advantages we have at Mercado Libre is that we are owners of course, first-party data, a lot of data. So we can use this a lot in our internal solutions, right? And then you have fine-tuning of the models that basically, to put it in a simple way, is like retraining the model, changing the parameters that you use to train it. And this has been something very complex to do, right? You need a lot of compute to be able to actually fine-tune some of these models, and only very large companies with a lot of compute access can do these things. Now we have things like LoRa that allow you to do this with a subset of parameters. We also have quantization that kind of reduce the size of the models. But the thing is that this is, if you look at the amount of improvement that it can give you, most likely today for most e-commerce companies, this is not worth it, right? Yeah. So now going into a little bit of detail of how we are using Gen AI in Mercado Libre in production and what are the things that we are also building. Well, the first one are assistants and copilots. We are building a personal shopper assistant, basically that will help you go through your purchase journey. My daughter, she's 5 years old, and she just discovered Nintendo. So she's in love with Mario for the last month. And the month before, she was in love with Pokemon and Pikachu. And the month before, she was in love with the Lion King. She kind of discovered new thing. And every month, she wants her birthday of a different thing, right? So one of the things you could do with this is give you your complex context, like the one I'm facing, and it will help you buy all the different things, take into consideration the things I mentioned, like the shipping time and the best price and whatnot, to give you the list and actually help you do the shop. In terms of content consumers, we are using a lot of generation of summarization. One example could be customer experience. when your customers complain about something that didn't work, we go through a CX process. Of course, all of those processes can always be improved. And one of the key issues we have at Mercado Libre is that when the case changes agent, we lose accuracy and we lose information that we already asked the customer. So we keep asking the customer the same question over and over, and that's not cool, right? It's like when you call the airline and they ask for your reservation number and ID, and then, oh, let me put you through, and then the next person asks you the same thing, and so on. It's very frustrating. So we are actually using generative AI to summarize all the conversation with the user, so that information get passed through the different agents, and we eventually make the process more efficient. But in the end, what's more important, we reduce the time for the user to get a solution. In our internal infrastructure, we use a lot of AI. I mentioned one example, that is compute efficiency and data storage efficiency. Those are two things in which we base a lot in machine learning models. But in terms of generative AI in particular, we have two initiatives. One is what we call the Fury Copilot, that is in this platform that all the development teams use. You will have a Copilot that will be part of your team. For example, if you make a new deployment and the Copilot start to analyze the data and see that you have new logs that you didn't have in the past, and that your performance is worse than it used to be, it's going to go look at the code you changed in that specific version and give you, using code recommendations of which things you need to change to make sure that you go back to the previous performance you have in your application. Another area is the enhanced experience. Here, when our users see that there were 1,000 reviews of this product, maybe they want to know which were the most interesting. So we are using generative AI for that. And also answering automatically questions, right? Instead of having the seller answer the question, automatically answer the question with Gen AI. Like, it is in Spanish, but it says, what do you need to know about the product? And it says, how long will the battery last? And the answer is automatically provided by a Gen AI bot instead of by the seller. The last thing we have in production right now is hyper-personalized experiences. Most of us in the past use audiences to segment our users and to be able to connect with them in a personalized way. But creating really, really personalized communications with your users based on the actual usage of your platform was pretty complicated in the past, as well as the interaction itself. Now, with this, we are able to actually improve our click rate and open rate of all of our communications with our users. And the last thing that in which we are using generative AI is in Amazon Code Whisperer and code generation in general. We use various platforms for this. One is Amazon Code Whisperer. This one here is Sebastián Barrios. He's our Senior VP of Technology. Basically, what we saw is that 35% of all recommendations made by these assistants were accepted by the development teams. But that's not only it. It also accelerates and help us move the curve to the upper right, because we have to spend less time writing tests that now can be written by the generative AI. And also we detect bugs before they actually hit production. That was more complex in the past. And to close, this is a sentence or a quote that we really like, that the best way to predict, and predict is a good word for this talk, the future is to actually invent it. We see generative AI as a canvas for our imagination, right? We don't see it as a technology only. So there is a lot of things to create and invent in retail and e-commerce about the usage of generative AI. And we think that the key to invent this new future is to be responsible in the usage of this technology. This technology can be super powerful, but also it has a lot of downsides still. So we need to be very responsible because of biases on how we use it in certain areas, like human resources, for example, interviewing. Also, when creating content, making sure that it's not being offensive. So those kind of things are critical, and it's part of our responsibility to create a future that uses this technology, but in a way that is not harmful to others. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Amazing.